Saints, listen up. We have to be realistic. And the reason I start this video in such a way saying we have to be realistic is because a lot of us are not, unfortunately. Now, what I mean with this, when it comes to sudden tragedies, when it comes to people losing it and committing horrible acts of violence, we often are surprised and in shock. But here's the thing, as believers, we shouldn't be. Or better said, as saints, we shouldn't be. You know why? Because we know how the world really is. We know that the world is operating in patterns and cycles, so we know that when horrible things happen, they don't just happen out of the blue. There's a whole history that led to the unfoldment. A cycle is a cycle. So if you understand it's a cycle, then you're not surprised when the escalation phase begins. Too often, we're so traumatized and shocked by the escalation phase that we don't even realize that it was part of a cycle all along. But because it's part of a cycle, you can notice symptoms when something bad is coming. And that's what we as saints ought to do. We ought to notice the symptoms ahead of time. Now, a very easy symptom I'm going to explain to you in this video. It's so simple, I shouldn't even have to make this video. Now, but for those that need it, I'm still making this video. The number one symptom that something bad is likely to happen is when someone goes through hard times. When bad news arrives for someone, be prepared. Now, don't get things wrong. Not everyone who goes through bad times escalates in a negative way. Not everyone who receives bad news suddenly goes out stabbing people with a knife or escalating, dumping anger on people. No, absolutely not. People are shocked by bad times or by sudden bad news, but they realize, okay, they may deny it, but then realize, okay, we need to deal with this. Now, I'm not saying they always deal with it in a proper way. Some people become completely stressed out and they have a mental breakdown. Others just go on drinking and partying just to forget about it, or they become chain smokers or whatever. So I'm not saying people always deal properly when they receive bad news. But just so you know, when bad news arrives for someone, that individual or those close to that individual, it doesn't have to be family or friends, but just people that are also affected by bad news, they may escalate. Now, why am I telling you to be aware of this symptom? Because it's the number one symptom people often ignore. Okay, let me give an example. Let's say you have a guy that works at an insurance company. Okay, he has been working there for 20 years. His children are in their teenage years, and his children are about to go to college soon, and he's been happily married. But then he gets bad news. His wife has a disease, whether it's cancer or the tumor or whatever. Anyway, his wife has a disease. But here's the thing, the insurance company is that they are part of will not pay for the medical bills for some weird reason, even though they always pay their insurance faithfully. Now, this man is in a very bad situation. His wife is dying. She may get a surgery that may prolong her life, but the insurance company is not able to pay. His savings are not sufficient to pay for the costs. Neither are friends and family capable of putting money together, because he's one of the only people in his family that went to college and got a degree. So, what other options does this man have? Now, for those that walk by faith, we know, trust God, supernatural aid is available. But for those that don't have the Holy Spirit, that means for those that are not born again, well, they do have the option to go to the paranormal, but to go to the paranormal, there are going to be side effects, and you must be aware of the paranormal also. You can't get paranormal aid when it comes to medical issues if you're not familiar with witch doctors and all of that. And a lot of people don't even want to think about that option because it's not official. So if someone is not serving the Heavenly Father and they're not paranormally advanced, then in that case, the only option the man has is to get that money in an, how to say, in an informal way. An informal way can be criminal, or it can be in a debased way. For example, he can, for example, go into prostitution and rent out his body and get a lot of money, and then suddenly he can pay for the medical bills of his wife. Or he can sell drugs, or he can commit fraud at the place where he works because he knows how to commit fraud easily. And because he's been a faithful employee for so long, he even became a manager and a supervisor, nobody would suspect him. Now, it can also be that it's not the guy himself, but one of his children that may escalate and do something very risky or dangerous just to get the money to pay for the bills of their mother. Now, why am I using this example? Because in this example, it's very understandable why some of those people would lose it. But apart from such examples, there are also times people lose it just because they want to save face. Let's say there are people who unfriended you on social media years ago. They couldn't stand you. They thought they were better off without you. They so-called went on with life. They quote-unquote closed the chapter. They didn't want to think about you anymore because according to them, they've moved on. So even think about people from the past just bothering them. But here's the thing. Their life did not went as planned. They are in debt now. They have stress at work. They have all types of issues afflicting them. And then one day they hear about this prosperous businessman, and they figure out it's you, the one they've blocked years ago on social media that they all moved away from, the one they've been talking crap about. Now, everyone that heard them talking crap about you years ago and will see you now can tell them, hey, is this not the guy you blocked on social media years ago? Whoa, you thought you were better off without them, but guess you were wrong. So now, things were going bad in their life anyway, but now your good news is bad news to them. Why? Because they made a decision at your expense, putting you in a negative daylight. And now, because things go well with you, it backfires on them. And they were very clear when they cut you off, when they discarded you. So now it's going to be very clear how narcissistic they were. And this is going to be an extra humiliation on the fact that things didn't go as they planned in life. Now, in such cases, people are likely, far more likely to escalate and do crazy stuff to save face. Some will fake reconciling with you with some bullshit story just to get close to you to sabotage you. Others may become so desperate that they will gather money to pay for a hitman to come and kill you. Or they will make up rumors about you that aren't true. They will even make false rape accusations or whatever. Or they may begin to stalk your clients and harassing them to hinder you. They will likely escalate. Why? Because this humiliation of their own narcissism backfiring onto them is something that they can't prevent. And here's the thing. They insisted they were better off without you. But reality has proven that they were wrong all along. And now they are worse off than you. So anytime people are celebrating your success, it backfires in shame and humiliation and mental pain on them. And this is a type of pain they cannot cope with. So if this pain lingers for a while, they will mentally collapse, literally. They'll have a mental meltdown. So, to prevent a mental meltdown and to lose the little they have in life, they are likely to turn on you. So look whether the bad news is genuine bad news because of an objective bad thing that's going on, or whether it's subjective bad news because their expectations backfire on you. An example of them cutting you off and now you're better off than them. When people receive bad news, that is a symptom that they are likely to escalate. Now, not everyone who receives bad news escalates, I know that. But never miss the symptom. This is the number one symptom people miss. And look at this. When people discarded you, walked away from you, they left you, and you're better off now, and they are worse off, and your glory and your power and your peace is growing and growing, especially then they will escalate. They will do desperate, dangerous stuff to save face. Because look at this, their reputation will be over. Once people figure out that they discarded you, but you're better off than them, then people come to question everything about them. They may lose their jobs, they may lose their marriages, they may lose uh, the good opinion people have on them. So when people are facing a crisis because their own negative wills and or narcissistic attitudes backfire on them, especially then you need to watch out. So when, for example, if you have a student at a university who's doing quite well, and you have this professor keep murmuring about the student, that's a sign that something very bad is about to happen. Or if you have a family-in-law that keeps talking crap about someone he went to school with, then something bad is likely to happen very soon. When people receive bad news, it's a symptom that they're likely to escalate. Now, does it mean that everyone who receives bad news is going to escalate? No. But in general, that's how it goes. So never miss this red flag. Be at peace.